We are loved beyond measure. At some point, you just have to trust her. She loves you more than you will ever know. She wants us to love one another.
Happy Sunday morning to you. Welcome to another episode of Priestess at the Altar. Sorry I was away last week. That has to happen from time to time. So let us start in our usual manner. I hope your morning is happy and bright. And if it isn't, this is our opportunity to hopefully turn it around for you. So if you're new to Priestess at the Altar, we start every Sunday morning the same way. We just do a little deep breathing just to center ourselves. I do it with you. And we just take 3 deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. We're going to start right now. Close your eyes if you want to. Ready? And again. Let's do that one more time. Thank you. Hopefully you are with me now. And now we have, excuse me, our opening prayer, accompanied by the Corvids outside the window today. It is our love and our passion that brings us here where we can spend just a little time to commune, to be still, to feel the life force of human connection, which also connects us to her. Just imagine for a moment a silver thread that connects everyone who watches or listens to this now or later today from different places at different times from all over the world. For we have been drawn together in the light and the peace and the love of the goddess. And together, we all say, Amen Dea. Thank you. It's like right outside the window. I love my Corvid friends. My spirit animal is the raven. This is what a Native American person told me a long time ago. Whether it is true or not, I have chosen to believe that it is true, and we don't have ravens in Illinois. But the crows are their brethren, as I'm sure you know. Same genus, same species family. So today's message comes to you from me, not from a book. So if maybe this is your only content that you look at for the Girlfriend God, but I believe I've mentioned or at least alluded to the Church of the Goddess, a nonprofit I started, and I'm slowly putting together the pieces of said church. And one of the things that is in the dogma and theology of that church is a Trinity. So, okay, so the church is a church and it's a nonprofit. And as a church, it comes with a religion, sort of, right? I've chosen to call that religion Shiism. And it isn't really a new religion. It is an old religion because goddess religion and goddess spirituality is as old as time, right? But the goal of the Church of the Goddess is to be a unifying force for all goddess paths everywhere, all over the globe. So in other words, the members of the church will be women who practice some Asian goddess path or some African goddess path or some Grecian goddess path or some American goddess path, although just don't even get me started. That's the goal of the Church of the Goddess is to have these brick and mortar churches where we can all come together, but we had to have something that was unifying, some sort of loose structure. So we created this kind of loose dogma, and you don't have to believe it to be a member of the church, right? You can just, as long as if you're a goddess worshiper, even if you're just curious about being a goddess worshiper, you know what I mean? Like, all are welcome. So I will get to the Trinity that's in the dogma of the Church of the Goddess. First, I want to talk about Trinities in general and the number 3, right? Because there's a lot of material to cover there. There was an earlier episode of Priestess at the Altar where I read something from the Church of Our Mother God scripture. And the Church of Our Mother God comes from Filianism, which is a goddess religion. And in Filianism, part of their dogma and liturgy is they have a mythology of a Trinity, and their Trinity is it kind of mirrors Catholicism, but kind of flipped on its head, right? It's like the female version of that. That's really how the Filianic scripture reads. And not surprisingly, because the women who, or at least the third wave of Filianism or second wave Filianism women in the 70s had this Catholic background. So it's not surprising that that's how that scripture reads. Anyway, so in their Trinity, they have the mother, the daughter, and the dark mother, and their mythology sort of mimics that of Jesus, at least a little bit, and very broad strokes, right? Because the daughter sacrifices herself to save the soul of humanity. So there's that Trinity. So I have this whole list of the number 3, right? That's why in any spirituality, no matter what it is, right? I don't care who you are. If you're watching this, at some point, you've heard of the number 3 being important in some context, right? If it's in religion, then you can look at Filianism, or you can look at even in the Christians, the number 3 appears 467 times in the New Testament. He rose on the 3rd day. He prayed 3 times in the Garden of Gethsemane. I can't pronounce that. I'm not a Christian. I don't read the Bible, but you know what I mean? That number 3 comes up over and over again, the 3 righteous fathers and the 3 whatever, and their whole Trinity thing. Anyway, so Trinity, 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 Trinity everywhere in the fucking Bible. And then in Hellenistic culture, the number 3 was considered the perfect number, the number of harmony, wisdom, and understanding. And I'm sure that you know that a lot of the mythology of the number 3 comes from Pythagoras, right? Pythagoras, that dude, a long time ago. Yes, the Pythagoras of the triangle, that Pythagoras. It is also the number of time, past, present, future, birth, life, death, beginning, middle, end. The dimensions of the space we inhabit is a trinity. The width, length, height, our own selves as a trinity, mind, body, spirit, the sun's stages as it moves through the day, dawn, noon, dusk, the planting cycles of our food, plant, dormant, harvest, the goddess herself, virgin, mother, crone, or maiden mother crone, like whatever your thing is. And the Filianists, mother, daughter, dark mother. I mean, the Trinity is everywhere. The Trinity is everywhere. And the number 3 is the most magical number in the universe. I mean, I could go on. And if you're watching this channel, I assume that you have some glancing familiarity with either tarot or astrology or numerology. 3 is everywhere. Now, given that, you would think that it would have either won me the lottery or a long shot on a horse race by now, but it hasn't. Yeah, it hasn't. I'm still waiting for my ship to come in using the number 3, but I guess it's just not meant to be. Not yet, anyway, not yet, right? Because it could still happen. So 3 is the number of the divine, right? A lot of people say that. The 3 is the number of the divine. So now that we've talked about how magical the number 3 is, I want to go back to the church's dogma because, okay, so let me just clarify. So priestess at the altar was its standalone thing under the girlfriend god umbrella, I guess, if you will. But now that I've started the Church of the Goddess nonprofit, pretty much everything is now under the umbrella of the Church of the Goddess. Everything's been folded into that, the podcast and mod and and all of that. So, so priestess at the altar is now technically a Church of the Goddess thing, a Church of the Goddess series. And someday, when the Church of the Goddess is able to have an actual church, which we will online first, right? And then we'll have these in-person brick and mortar places, churches, right? Because it is a church. For federal tax purposes. So here's what I worked into. Here's what because it's not like the Church of the Goddess is just me. I do have a board of directors and other people that I've gotten input from, and an unofficial advisory committee and all of that. So I believe, or I have come to believe, and in the dogma of the Church of the Goddess believes, that there is a Trinity, there is a holy Trinity for each of us as individuals and as Goddess followers. So I'm going to tell you about that Trinity, and that is my message for today, is this holy Trinity that involves you and the Goddess. So the Holy Trinity is you, your patron deity, and if you don't have one of those, I highly suggest you get one. And I can talk a little bit about how you would go about doing that. And then the Goddess, like the Goddess, the primordial Goddess, the Goddess of all goddesses, the Goddess from which all other goddesses derive. That is part of that diamond head God theory, which maybe I've talked about on here before, maybe I haven't, I can't recall. I think that I have, but just a brief recap. The diamond head God theory is that you have the goddess, and all other goddesses are facets of a singular source. For me, and for some others, and again, you don't have to believe this to be a member of the Church of the Goddess. This is just what I believe as a monotheist. All other goddesses are facets of the one primordial goddess. So in this Trinity, that goddess, the primordial goddess, is the third part of that Trinity. So there's you, your patron goddess, and the goddess. Okay? A little bit about your patron goddess. If you don't have a patron goddess, here's what I would suggest. Look at what goddesses appeal to you. Pick the one that appeals to you and resonates with you the most. Now, this is about personal gnosis, okay? That goddess that you either learned about in school, or a goddess that your friend has, or a goddess whose mythology you read and were fascinated with, or a land that calls to you, or a land that you know your ancestry connects to, or the goddess of your mother or of your people, or, you know, whatever it is that resonates with you and your soul, and you think that is my goddess, then research and learn as much as you can about that goddess. Then spend time in a quiet place, wherever it is you go, to pray, to meditate, to contemplate, to get quiet, and talk to her, because your relationship with your patron deity is like any other relationship that you would be in. If you wanted to form a friendship or a romantic relationship, how would you go about creating that relationship? You would spend time with that person, and you would get to know them, and you would let them get to know you. Well, with patron deities, it works the same way. Simple. It's simple. And the reason that we recommend that you have a patron deity is because the goddess, right? There are parts of her that we just can't know in that way. And we find it helpful to have that kind of close relationship with a deity, especially when you're looking for things like comfort and safety and security and love, right? We're all kind of looking for that, aren't we? Some of us in all the wrong places. So, okay, so the first part of the Trinity is the mother, right? The mother, that is the primordial goddess, the creatrix of all that is and all that is not, she who cannot truly be named, and as such cannot really be known by us. Beyond a certain point, because the enormity of who and what the goddess actually is quite beyond our human intellect and understanding. Like nuclear physics is beyond my human understanding, so is the primordial goddess. Maybe nuclear physics isn't beyond your understanding, but it's certainly, just pick whatever it is that's beyond you. The primordial goddess is like that thing, whatever that thing is for you. How could we possibly grasp the origin point? She who preceded space and time. We can't. And yet, we are loved by that progenitor. Sorry, I always mispronounce that. I always wanted to have more syllables than it does. Progenitor, she is the progenitor, or the progenitix. I don't know. So as such, the most common form across cultures and across time that the goddess has taken is mother. That's true. Statistically, if you look at goddess worship and goddess cultures across the millennia, most often, and earliest forms of goddess worship, she is the mother, right? Earliest form of goddess worship, Gaia, the earth as mother, the sky mother. These are some of the earliest forms that we know about of indigenous populations worshiping or working with or trying to form relationship with the goddess as mother. So that is the first part of the Trinity. Most, if not all, goddess worshipers or people on a goddess path have some form of emotional baggage tied to their relationships with their own biological mothers. This is just a fact of my experience, and the women, the many, many, many women I have known and continue to meet in my lifetime. That's one of the reasons we sought out a goddess in the first place, was because we didn't or could not get the love that we sought from our own mothers from whatever reason. And that ranges from childhood trauma to just some vague feeling of discontent, right? And in either case, we find the mother we want in the goddess. That has been our experience. We turn to the goddess to heal the mother wound and to feel loved. And it is that goddess, it is that primordial goddess that is the first part of the Trinity. Second part of the Trinity, that patron goddess that we talked about. Whoever it is you had in mind when you came to these Sunday morning meetings with me, whatever aspect of the goddess that called to you when you stepped onto this goddess path, that is the second part of your Trinity. Whatever goddess you have dedicated prayers and offerings to, whoever you have offered your heart and your loyalty and your dedication to, what was it about that goddess that drew you in? What was it about that particular goddess? Is it because she came from a land that resonated with you, or your ancestry and heritage, or a place you always wanted to go or were fascinated with? Was it personal gnosis and you had no connection with that land, but yet this goddess spoke to you? Did she come to you in a dream? What many people choose a personal goddess initially because of some particular thing they want to resolve in their life. But that usually is born from some larger need that they are trying to fulfill. So the patron deity takes on a particular role, right? Like for me, or multiple roles, right? Like for me, my patron deity is the perfect romantic partner, someone or something that I fell so deeply in love with and then never fell out of love, right? That honeymoon feeling that never goes away, that's a fantasy we could never fulfill with another human being. And yet it was a need that haunted me and my relationships, and therefore my relationships didn't work. I also, running neck and neck with that is this need for this magical, mystical unicorn best friend that doesn't exist. So she fulfills that need for me as well, because she's always there. She always listens. She doesn't judge me. She doesn't, you know what I mean? So whatever it is that you sought in that goddess, your patron goddess, to be fulfilled. Maybe you needed more mother. Maybe you needed a mother goddess. Maybe you needed a warrior goddess to fight for you. Maybe you needed a protector. Maybe you need, you know what I mean? Whatever she did for you, or you identify that and look at that relationship. That is the second part of your Trinity. And you, my friends, you are the third part and the most important part of this very sacred Trinity. Because like we've already talked about, this number 3 and this Trinity thing, it's ancient and it's important and it's holy. What is it about you that put you on this path, that put you in this place right here, right now? What are you doing listening to me on a Sunday morning? What are you doing having even a modicum of interest listening to someone who calls herself a priestess of the goddess? Why are you even remotely interested in a church of the goddess? What is it about you that makes a goddess path or a priestess path, if that's what you're on, work so well for you? Why does it bring you peace? Why does it bring you joy? Why does it make the living of life easier for you? What is your journey to and through the path of the goddess? How has it changed for you over time? These are the kind of things I want you to think about when you sign off of YouTube today. Because sometimes beliefs grow, and sometimes old beliefs are discarded for new ones. Perhaps there are things that you believed about the goddess or about a goddess path, that you thought 5 years ago that now you're like, yep, yeah, I don't think that anymore. Now I think this. And are you sharing that with others? Are you considering the next generation of goddess followers? And what is it you are passing on to them? So that is my message for today. One, did you have any idea before today just how important this number 3 is? And the holiness of the Trinity. And I know holy is one of those trigger words, right? We think Christian and Catholic and patriarchy, but it's not. It just means holy. And a goddess religion can be just as holy. And a goddess spirituality can be just, if not more so, holy. Because you guys, you women, you ladies, I know some people don't like it when I say you guys, it's just such a regular part of my vernacular. We are holy. And part of engaging in a religion is really just a philosophical practice and a theological practice, right? To look at these things like, like the Trinity and our own personal Holy Trinity, and think about what these things really mean to us and what they bring to our lives and our souls, and what practical ways can we use them to make life more bearable, because sometimes it seems not. Yeah. So that is this Sunday's message. The Holy Trinity. What is yours? What is yours? Can you buy into this theology that I've laid out before you? And can you take this Trinity and seal it into your heart and have it really work miracles in your life, where you struggle, and can you see its grace working in where you succeed? So go forth and enjoy your Sunday. I feel like these are getting shorter and shorter, but isn't that kind of what you want from a Sunday sermon? So that thing you can go and enjoy your day or watch your game or whatever it was. So, yeah. So thanks again for joining me today. And I will see you next week at 10 a.m. Central. And until then, we all say Amen Dea, and may the peace and the love of the goddess be with you.
The girl